Hey everyone, welcome to this, your next installment of the GoldenGate Tech Talk series. This is your source for informative and timely tech topics about GoldenGate software, data replication, and cloud data integration. The industry leading data replication software for more than 20 years, GoldenGate is still innovating today and helping thousands of leading brands get the most business value out of their data. As a multi-cloud capable replication engine, GoldenGate helps customers maintain seamless integration across their public clouds. But what makes GoldenGate really special is the breadth and attention to enterprise-class solutions for databases, cloud, big data, NoSQL, and streaming technologies of all kinds, not just Oracle. GoldenGate's rock-solid foundation is the best-in-class for data high availability, high-speed transaction replication, and data warehouse loading. But modern data challenges require the most innovative solutions, and GoldenGate delivers on world-class data lake ingestion, stream data processing for real-time ETL, and advanced stream analytics that include geofencing, time series processing, and machine learning integrations. As a platform for modern data integration, GoldenGate just can't be beat. Well, that's about it for the intro. Let's get on with today's tech topic.
Hello everyone, this is Warner. Today I'm going to show you a quick demo of how to have a on-premise GoldenGate microservice talking to a GoldenGate microservice provisioned by the marketplace running in OCI. We have released the GoldenGate microservice architecture in the marketplace, and we all know once you provision the GoldenGate in the OCI, once it's running, it actually have a reverse proxy server called Nginx running in the front. So there's no other ports are opening to the outside world except for the port 443. And on this diagram, you can see on the right side is Oracle Public Cloud, the OCI. Um, if we have the GoldenGate microservice running here, the only port the outside world can talk to is the port 443, which is managed by the Nginx, the reverse proxy server. So for the on-premise GoldenGate microservice architecture on the left side of this diagram in the customer data center, the distribution server, if they want to send the data to the microservice architecture running in OCI, it need to talk to Nginx instead of talking to the receiver server directly. So there are many questions flowing around asking, hey, how can I make this work? Because we do not have a lot of detailed documentation there, which we're still working on. So I want to give you a quick demo showing you how to configure this kind of communication from the distribution server running on-premise, talking to the Nginx server running in the OCI. Eventually, we'll talk to receiver server. To make this work, because the Nginx is using the SSL, you have to make sure your distribution server have a client certificate. And also, you need to add the certificate the Nginx using into the wallet of the client certificate that distribution server is using. So this distribution server can trust the Nginx when they started the SSL handshake. And the second is we also need to make sure there is a user created in the administration server in the GoldenGate microservice in your cloud. Using that user ID and password, it can log in to the receiver server. So the distribution server is going to create the path to talk to the reverse proxy server plus using the basic authentication to log into the receiver server. So it will pass the user ID and the password to the Nginx server. And once the connection is created, Nginx server is going to send that information to the receiver server for the authentication. And once the authentication is passed, then this entire data transportation channel will be created. And in my demo, I will only show you how to create this distribution server all the way to the receiver server. I'm going to skip the extract and the replicate creation because these are completely covered in another demo. And because I only have 20-30 minutes, so I want to focus on how you can import the certificate that NGIX using from the cloud into the wallet on-premise, and also how you can create a user ID and password in your GoldenGate microservice architecture in the cloud, and then using that user ID and password to create this path. Okay, so here is the microservice architecture we have. Let me just show you in the Firefox. I'm logging to the GoldenGate running OCI. This is from the marketplace. You can see I have two deployments here, and this is the host name I'm using to log in. And you can see I'm not putting any port number in there because it's using the Nginx. So I'm just logging directly to the port 443, and then it will guide me to all the different services here. And in my Chrome browser, I'm logging to my local uh, microservice architecture. And you can see actually it's a version 18.1, right? And in the cloud is 19.1. So I'm showing you like this is even different version of going into microservice architecture to talk to 19.1. In my local, the on-premise going into microservice architecture, I do not have any secure deployment. It's unsecure, so I'm using all the port number. So that's another difference you can see. And for me to make this work, I need to create the path in the distribution server. And I already have a extract running here in my environment, in my local environment. So it already start producing the trail file HH. So what I am trying to do is I'm going to create the distribution server's distribution path to move this trail HH, or I say to to uh, to use the distribution server to distribute this trail HH to the receiver server in the deployment of DP-Aura12C in the GoldenGate running OCI. Okay, and I also have a bunch of terminal window open here. So this black window, the black background window is my on-premise. And this green background window is my GoldenGate running in OCI. And the both GoldenGate microservices are already up and running there. Okay. And one thing I want to show you is on my on-premise server, you have to make sure in your etc host file you have the right IP address for the GoldenGate microservice VM in your OCI. Okay, so I put this public IP address and also the short format server name, long format server name in there. And if you don't know where to get your public IP address, if you're going to get a microservice architecture running OCI, here is the quick um, hint of how to do that. So if you log into your cloud account, you go to your instance, compute instance, you will see your GoldenGate VM name here. It's from the marketplace. Make sure you choose the correct data center. If you click on that, you will see the public IP address here. Okay, so this is how you get a public IP address. And also one thing you need to pay attention is the network security groups. Because this is a testing server, I didn't create its own network security groups. If you do, make sure the port 443 is open on the network security groups, because that is the port all the the web browser is going to connect to, or the on-premise distribution server is going to talk to. That's the port your reverse proxy server is listening to on the GoldenGate running OCI. Um, if you don't have the network security groups, I actually put that 443 port open in the default VCN network security rule. So here, if you go to the security list, I only have a default security list, and here the 443 is open. So make sure either you open the 443 in the default security list, or you make sure the port is open in that particular VM's, the compute instance security group. Okay, so that's how we get the IP address. And once you get the right IP address, make sure on your on-premise server where the microservice is running, you have that IP address and also the host name in the etc host file. Um, so when you use a host name, it will get direct to the right IP address. Um, to first step we need to do is we need to get the particular certificate from the Nginx running in the cloud, right? So in this particular slide, this is the guy who's using a SSL certificate. We need to get a certificate and then import a certificate into the wallet the distribution server is running. And to get a certificate is not very difficult. You can use this OpenSSL command as client, connect, and then to your GoldenGate server name in OCI. Okay. Sorry, I have a typo here. I have to add the port number. Okay. So S client basically is telling the OpenSSL using a secure client and then try to connect to the other server, and then it will show you all this information about the certificate. Okay, so one thing we need to do is we need to verify the security. The CN name is right here, right? And then also this is the certificate that we need to copy and paste and put into a file. So you copy from a begin certificate and into the end and at the end certificate line here. Copy that and then paste that into a text file, which I already did that ahead of time. So here, let me show you. And this is what I did. Okay, I just basically copied the begin certificate all the way to the end certificate into a text file called cert. Okay, and this is a certificate I get from the OCI side, and then I need to put this into the wallet that the distribution server client is using. So people might asking me, hey, how do I know where is the distribution server's client? So it's very easy to verify. So if you already running the GoldenGate Microservice Architecture, you can do a quick grab on server, okay? And then you will see there is a distribution server running and it has a config file. So take a look at this config file, right? This is what it is using when it's up and running. So if this is a text file. If cat this file, I want, because it's a JSON file, so I want to make it look better, easy to read. And then you will see all the various options it's using. And here is the security detail. See the network outbound and wallet location, it's a file. This is where the wallet is. Okay, once you find the wallet, which I'm already here in this directory, and you can take a look what's inside this wallet. Okay, so right now it only has its own certificate. This is a client certificate, the distribution server using talking to other guy. So there's no Nginx certificate yet. What I need to do is I need to import that particular file which I just created, which is this file. I need to add that into the wallet. So here is the command. I'm just using PKI. This is directory. This is the current directory. Tell this trusted cert and where the certificate is. And then it's going to ask your password for your wallet. And this is a password you should know because this wallet you created. Okay, so it said operation successfully completed. And now if we want to take a look at what's in the wallet, and you will see this additional certificate has been imported into it. Okay, and this matches what the CN we have seen earlier when we do the checking the certificate. And another thing I want to point out is if you take a look at that certificate, there's another entry here, very interesting. This is a subject alternate name, and there is a DNS name for that particular server who is using the certificate. And this will be the name the distribution server is going to verify and to talk to send the data. So that's why we need to make sure this name exists in the etc host file on your on-premise server. So once it accepts the certificate and start talking to this host, it will be talking to the right host on the OCI, which is your GoldenGate server. Okay, so now the certificate is done. And then because we added a new certificate to the wallet, we need to bounce all the services. So people asking, how about my current running extract and running replicat? Don't worry, those extract replica processes will keep running. You can bounce the service manager, bounce the distribution server, administration server without affecting those running process. Here's an example I can show you. So right now I do have an extract running, right? So it has a process PID 13590. Again, this is all done on my on-premise server, right? I import a certificate, I need to bounce all the server, bounce all the services. So the first one I need to do is I already logged in to this microservice on the Chrome. This is my local uh, on-premise GoldenGate environment. So here I can simply say stop the deployment. Okay, and then everything will be stopped, right? And if I come back to here, they're all gone. And then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to bounce the service manager, right? So I have to go to the particular directory where the service manager is running. If you don't know, you can actually do this. So the service manager, we verify it's running here, right? And let's go to the directory. And there's the two scripts. One is called stop, one is called start. So basically, we just bounce it by doing the stop and then doing the start. So it gets bounced, and I have the new service manager ID. And then I refresh the screen here and come in here to start the deployment. So now all the local deployments are up and running. And if we look at the extract, it still have the same PID, right? So the extract is not bounced. The only thing we bounced is all the microservices of this GoldenGate. See all these admin server, distribution server, PM server, receiver server, they all have the new PID number here. Okay, so if you look at it before, so it's different. Okay, so now the On-premise side, we take care of the wallet, take care of the certificate, and we need to come to the OCI side to create the user ID, which will be used by the distribution server to log in to the receiver server. So to do that, we have to go to the administration server to create a user ID. So once you are in the administration server, go to the left side hamburger button and go to the administrator. You will see the current user in there. So we need to create, let's say, just a new username. We can call it OGG network. And role, we just need to give the operator, should be good enough. And the type, you can leave it at basic. Info, we can say the network user to connect. Password. So again, this is on the target side, the 19.1 in the OCI. Okay, and make sure both passwords are the same. So the OGG network is created, right? And then when you come to the source side, create a alias for this particular user. So you can use that alias instead of using the user ID password directly. So on the source side, again, we go to the administration server here, log in. See the extract still running. We go to configuration, okay? And there's already a credential here. That's the database login used by the extract. So what we need to do is add another credential. We could call it, give a different domain called the network domain. Network connection. Okay. And the credential alias, we call it LGG connection. And the user ID, this is the user ID we defined on the other system, which is called OGG network. Password, the same password we defined earlier, which will be used to log in. Okay. Again, this user ID and password you use to log into the target, which is this guy, 19.1. Okay. So now you have a different domain, have OGGcon alias, and this will be used when we create the distribution path. So now we come to here, go to the distribution server, and let's create this path. Called, this is the path name, and we know the trail file is HH, which we verified earlier. And because we are using the reverse proxy server, so turn it on. And the target host is the particular host we are talking to, right? And the 443, leave it as default. This is the trail file name they are going to create on the target side. So let's call it R. And deployment name. This is deployment we're going to sending to, which is the DP Aura 12C. Okay. And then here we have to use the basic authentication. So here's the domain and alias, which we created earlier, right? So that's the domain name, network on. Make sure the case is exactly the same here. And then the alias is OGGcon. See, here we're not typing in any user ID and password because user ID password has been stored in this credential store, right? And then here, like, no, I just, because it's testing, I'll just use 50 meg. And you can choose all the different options here and then do the create a path. So here the path is created. Okay, and then the next thing is we can do the start. Here we go. The pass gets started. So it actually read the trial file and find the database name and extract name. And then if you now come into this target system, you go to the receiver server, you will be able to see a pass created here as well. So there's trail RR created. And if you go to that particular system, the RR trail is created here. Okay, so that is how we do all this, configuration, and then get the trails sent from the on-premise to the GoldenGate running in the cloud. And here is again the diagram. Let me just bring it up. Okay. So the key task here is you first need to get the nginx certificate through the OpenSSL command. And then you find out the distribution server's wallet. You import that certificate into the distribution server as a trusted certificate. And then you create a user ID and password on your target GoldenGate microservice environment so it can be used to authenticate, to log, to talk to the receiver server. Then when you create the distribution path on your on-premise, you have to make sure you turn on the reverse proxy, and you also have to create the credential, which is the alias for that user ID and the password on the target. So you use the alias here when you create a distribution server. And then you will be able to talk to the nginx, and then it will pass the trail file to the receiver server. And another thing you need to make sure is you have to make sure in your etc host file on your source, it does have the entry to resolve your target GoldenGate VM name to the correct public IP address. So all this, once you get all this done, you will be able to have your on-premise GoldenGate talk to the GoldenGate running OCI. Both are microservices, and then they can be different version. As I show you, my current on-premise is running version 18.1, and then the marketplace is running 19.1. And if you have the GoldenGate Marketplace, like you have two GoldenGate Marketplace VM running, which I'm show you here, it's basically follow the same configuration, but the configuration step is a little bit easier because we do have a special script in there to help you to migrate, to copy the target side nginx certificate into the wallet in the distribution server. And that is the, we have a script running here. There's add certificate.py. So when you run that, basically you can use the add certificate.py and then give it your target ngix. This one's the host name and the port number, and then you tell it which deployment you want it to put in. So if you don't do anything here, it gives you the usage, right? So the usage is hostname 443 target. So basically, it gives you local host, but actually you need to talk to your target host. And here, let me give you a quick example how I run that. So for example, my target, I have another target called OGGMP3, and then my current deployment name is DPR12C. Oh, maybe I didn't get the target name correct here, so let me double check. Oh, 0710. So, okay, looks like I need to set some environmental variables. So let me put this in here. I need to set a Java home. Okay, so here's my Java home. Here we go. So once you set the Java home, it did the import. So if now you go to the client, you'll see it actually imported the other guy's Nginx. Right now you can see there's two entries here. One of the entry is actually coming from the other side. If you look at the same thing, which I didn't do anything to 18C, see that wallet only have one entry for the Nginx reverse proxy, which is on the local Nginx reverse proxy. And this additional one put into the 12C deployment is actually came from the other GoldenGate, the Microservice Architecture deployed by the marketplace. So I don't have to do all these different steps. Instead, I just run this one command called the add certificate to get this server certificate added into this deployment on the local server. Okay, so that's an easy version when you use the OCI to OCI. Otherwise, you have to go to the menu steps, which I showed you earlier. So here will be today's demo, and thanks a lot for your time. And this is Warner. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Hey everyone, thanks again for tuning in to this edition of the GoldenGate Tech Talk series. Be sure to check out all the other cool Tech Talks that are out there and stay tuned for more as they become available.